We all know that feeling, right? That little niggle of frustration with a habit we just can't seem to shake.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe it's automatically reaching for our phone whenever there's a lull,
Yeah.
even when we know we'd be better off doing something else.
Or those snacks we grab when stress hits.
Exactly.
Ah.
Which never seemed like such a great idea later on.
Yeah.
These patterns, they can feel incredibly tough to break. It's a really common struggle.
It is indeed. And what's interesting is why these habits, big or small, get so dug in. It's more than just lacking willpower.
Right.
There are fundamental ways our brains actually work that make them so resistant to change.
Okay, so that's what we're diving into today. A tool that's maybe surprisingly really effective for tackling these habits.
Mm-hmm.
Journaling.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to explore how just, putting thoughts, triggers, progress down on paper can be a real catalyst for lasting change.
It sounds simple, but it's powerful.
It really is.
Yeah.
And if you've used a Listallian journal before, you know the quality they offer. We'll touch on how some of those specific features, like all those pages, 211 of them.
That's a lot of space for reflection.
It is. And the built-in table of contents, the thick paper, how they can be particularly helpful in this whole process of breaking bad habits.
Yeah, the structure helps. But going back to the why, it's fascinating. Our brains develop these neural pathways for repeated behaviors.
Like a path in the woods?
Exactly like that. You walk the same route again and again, and eventually it's just the easiest way to go. Bad habits carve really deep grooves.
Okay.
Then you add emotional triggers, stress, boredom, anxiety.
Yeah.
These act like signposts, pointing you straight down those familiar, maybe less desirable paths.
And often we don't even realize it's happening.
A lot of the time, no. These habit loops can operate way below conscious awareness. Plus, many bad habits give you that instant gratification hit.
Ah, the quick fix.
Makes them incredibly tempting. So, without a system, like a structured approach to bring these patterns out into the open and hold yourself accountable, well, those old pathways just keep getting stronger.
It really is like trying to find your way in a new city without a map, isn't it?
Good analogy.
You might know where you want to go, generally, but without a system, you just keep ending up back on those familiar streets, the less helpful ones.
Mm.
So understanding the why, like you said, that seems absolutely crucial. It's the first step.
Definitely.
It reminds me a bit of my sister, Emily. She was trying to cut down her afternoon coffee habit.
Okay.
Felt jittery, wasn't sleeping well, but every day, like clockwork, around 3 p.m., straight to the coffee machine. Almost automatic.
Yep. That's the habit loop in action. She knew she wanted to stop, but it felt unconscious.
Exactly. Felt totally out of her control.
And that's precisely where the intentionality of journaling can be so powerful. It gives you that structured map we talked about.
Right.
To help navigate away from those ingrained pathways by making the unconscious.
Okay, let's really unpack that. How exactly does journaling help break these habits? We know it's good for self-reflection, setting goals, tracking progress, but how does that work in practice?
Well, one of the biggest ways is simply identifying triggers.
Oh.
When you make a real consistent effort to write down the circumstances around the habit, where you were, who you were with, how you felt just before,
You start seeing things.
you start seeing patterns emerge, things you absolutely would not have noticed otherwise. For your sister, Emily, she might have started journaling and realized, oh, I always crave coffee after that really stressful team call.
Oh.
Or maybe it was just that afternoon energy slump hitting her. Documenting those details makes the connections crystal clear.
So you're turning vague feelings into, like, actual data points.
Exactly. Concrete data.
And then recognizing patterns. How does that build on identifying the trigger? And how does a good journal help there? Like, say, a Listallian.
Yeah, it flows directly from trigger identification.
Right.
Once you're consistently noting when the habit happens in the context, you can look back through your entries.
Right.
And this is where those features like numbered pages and that table of contents in a Listallian become incredibly useful. You're not just flipping aimlessly.
You can actually track it.
You can track the frequency over time. Is it coffee every single day, multiple times, only weekdays? Having that visual record, that history.
It takes it out of your head.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It transforms it from this vague sense of, I do this too often, into specific information you can actually analyze and work with.
That ability to see the trend visually must be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really powerful.
All right. What about setting replacement habits? How does writing it down help there?
Journaling gives you that dedicated space for intentional planning.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just trying to stop the old habit, which often leaves a void,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And leads to relapse.
Yeah, just saying don't do it rarely works.
It doesn't. So you use your journal to consciously brainstorm and decide on a new, positive behavior to substitute.
For Emily, instead of the coffee machine, maybe she plans, when I feel that slump, I'll make herbal tea or I'll take a quick walk around the block.
Mhm.
Writing down that specific intention makes it more concrete, more real. It seriously increases the chance you'll actually try the new thing when the trigger hits.
So you're actively building a new pathway, like you said earlier. And the source material also mentioned celebrating progress, using habit trackers in the journal. How does that fit in?
Ah, the habit tracker. Visually tracking your progress is huge for motivation.
Seeing the wins.
Seeing the wins, whether it's marking off days you successfully avoided the bad habit or days you did the new replacement habit. It provides a significant boost.
Like a little dopamine hit for doing the right thing.
Kind of. It's those small daily victories that build momentum and reinforce the belief that, yeah, change is possible. Many people love a bullet journal style tracker for this.
Like a grid.
Yeah, a simple grid. A row for each habit, mark your success each day. Having this within a structured journal like a Listerlian with its, clear layout and nice thick paper that doesn't bleed through
Makes it easier to keep up.
makes it easier and more pleasant to create and maintain that visual record, absolutely.
It's like seeing real proof of your effort. That must be so encouraging. It reminds me of a friend, Mark. He wanted to exercise more consistently.
Okay, common goal.
Totally. Knew he felt better when he did, but just struggled making it regular. So he started using a habit tracker in his notebook. Just a simple X for each day he exercised.
Simple but effective.
He told me seeing that chain of X's grow was surprisingly powerful. He just didn't want to break the chain.
That's a perfect example. That visual reinforcement really works for a lot of people. And beyond just tracking, journaling also really helps with self-reflection.
Or deeper.
Going deeper, using it to explore the thoughts and emotions driving the habits. Why did I feel that craving right then? What was I thinking just before I reached for the snack? Understanding those underlying factors is critical for lasting change. It lets you address the root cause, not just the symptom.
Absolutely. And that story of James, the freelance designer you mentioned, that really brings it all together.
Yeah, his story's great.
He used a Listerlian journal, right, to tackle his procrastination. Used the habit tracker for focus.
But also the reflection piece.
Yes, every evening he used that space for daily reflection. Note down what triggered his procrastination stress, distractions, lack of motivation,
That's specific.
and importantly, how he felt after procrastinating. The guilt, the anxiety about deadlines.
And acknowledging the negative consequences.
Right. And then, crucially, he'd use the morning pages in the journal to set a clear, doable goal for the day. Plan one small step forward.
And that's what's so effective about his approach and what a good journal structure supports. It's not just passively recording stuff.
It's active.
It's an active process. Observe, analyze, plan. The habit tracker gives you the accountability, the visual. The reflection gives you the self-awareness and helps you develop new strategies.
Exactly. And he specifically used his Listerlian to replace his usual morning doom scrolling on social media
Uh-huh.
with reading industry articles, brainstorming ideas, more productive stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he tracked those positive habits too, celebrating the small wins right there in his journal.
Building momentum.
Totally. And this consistent process track, reflect, choose new actions, it led to a huge shift in his mindset, boosted his productivity, and really helped his freelance career take off.
Yeah.
The journal, with its space for both tracking and reflection, was clearly key.
It just reinforces that idea, doesn't it? Breaking bad habits isn't usually an overnight thing.
Not at all.
It's gradual. Building self-awareness, setting intentions, consistently reinforcing those new, healthier patterns. And the journal acts as this constant anchor for that whole process.
So yeah, it's really clear. Breaking those ingrained habits, it's a journey of self-discovery, isn't it?
It really is.
And a journal notebook is just such a valuable ally on that path. Helps you stay consistent, motivated, aware of the patterns you want to change.
Precisely. By using a journal intentionally, like we've discussed, you're not just trying to stop something bad. You're actively learning about yourself,
Finding out what makes you tick.
identifying what drives those habits, and consciously building new pathways.
Yeah.
It's actually a very empowering feeling.
And for anyone listening who's serious about making this kind of change, a well-made journal genuinely helps. Those Listallian features we talked about, the numbered pages for looking back easily.
Yeah, finding patterns over weeks or months.
The durable, thick paper that just makes writing feel better.
Yeah.
Even the little back pocket for maybe notes or tracker templates. They're designed to support that kind of sustained effort.
And there's something else too, the actual physical act of writing.
Pen to paper.
Yeah, pen to paper. It can engage different parts of your brain compared to just thinking about it or even typing it. It can lead to deeper processing of your thoughts, a stronger connection to your intentions, something about the physical act.
So if you're listening to this and there's that one habit you're really ready to tackle, the message is pretty clear. Start today.
Don't wait.
Open your journal, whichever one you choose. Identify that first small step, that first thing you want to track or reflect on, and just begin. Begin that journey of self-discovery, positive change.
It's about understanding yourself better, one page at a time.
It really is.
And maybe, just as a final thought to leave with everyone, as you consider taking this step, perhaps spend just a few moments thinking about one specific habit you'd like to work on.
Just one to start.
Just one. Think about when it usually happens. What do you tend to be feeling right beforehand? Just noticing that initial bit of awareness, well, that's the very first entry in your journey.